Hello friends, welcome to my channel Patha Tutorial. In this video I'll be discussing about the how to recover a system from deadlock. Okay, as we are going through the topic of deadlock from operating system, and so far we have discussed deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance and deadlock detection, right? So in this video we will be discussing how to recovery from deadlock. Okay, so to eliminate deadlock using resource preemption, there are two methods are there. Okay, so let me first tell. First one is process termination. Okay, so to recover a system from deadlock, first method is called process termination. Okay, we will terminate some processes until the deadlock is removed. Okay, and second method is what? Resource preemption. We will preempt some resources from some processes, and we will continue executing the process or running the process. This way also we can recover from the deadlock. Okay, so we'll discuss in detail. Just let me start with process termination. Okay, so what is process termination? Process termination means what? In our system, more than one processes are running and the system is in deadlock state, right? But if we terminate some processes, they will release the currently holding resources. Okay, and we can assign those resources to the other process and we can continue the execution of the processes, and in this way we can recover from deadlock. Okay, but first one is what? Avoid all the deadlock processes. Okay, so by using process termination, the first thing we can do is what? We will see all the processes will not be in deadlock state, right? Because of some process which are requesting for some resources, but those resources are not be able to granted, so the system is going to the deadlock state, right? So first method is what? About all the deadlock process, the process which are in deadlock state, about all of them, and recover the system from deadlock. But this is very costly effort to do, right? Because if we avoid all the processes, then again we have to restart all of these processes, right? And some of them maybe they might have completed 99% of their execution. Okay, and only 1% is remaining, but we are terminating that process, right? So this is very costly effort to do. And second method is what? Second one is about one process at a time until the deadlock cycle is eliminated. Okay, this is a little bit better than this first method. So this is what we will do is, if we preempt a resource from a process, what should be done with that process? Okay, clearly it cannot continue with its normal execution, right? It is missing some needed resources, right? And we must roll back that process to some safe state and restart it from that state again. Okay, but it is very difficult to find at which point of execution the system will be in safe state, right? So it's better to totally roll back or roll back the process and restart it again. Okay, so this is the drawback. That means what? We have to totally terminate the process and start it again. But it is better than this method because we are eliminating or terminating the process one by one, and once we get the system is in safe state, then we can continue the execution. Okay, and but if we are not terminating all the deadlocked process, that means we need to select, right? Suppose there are 10 processes are there, okay, in the system, and 5 are in deadlock state. Okay, 5 are in deadlock state. Okay, so if 10 processes are there in the system and 5 are in deadlock state, so we need to select among among these 5 process. Maybe after terminating 3 process, deadlock will be removed. Okay, so we need to select those process by employing some method or something. We have to means in some way we have to select the process so that the less number of process will be terminated. Okay, so in which order we should choose to avoid the process? So first one is what? First one is priority of the process. Okay, so there may be some priority of each processes in the system, and we will be avoiding the process with less priority. Okay, so this is one method we can about the process one by one. Okay, and second one is what, how long process is computed and how much longer it longer to completion. Suppose one process P1 has already completed 90% of its execution, and there is one process P2, this is only 50% of its execution is completed. So we should abort this P2, not P1. Okay, because it requires only a small means little more time to complete its execution, but this needs 50% of the tasks are not being executed, right? So this is also one criteria to select the victim, or to choose which process to be terminated or aborted. Okay, so we will always select the process which is not executed, or very small amount of task has been executed, okay, for that process. Okay, third method is what, recovery resources the process has used. Okay, so suppose there is one process P1, okay, and it has already used 90% of its resources, and there is one process called P2 and it has used only suppose 20% of its resources. So which one to abort, and which one will be better to terminate? So this P2, right? So the process which has used their resources very less, then we can abort that process to remove the deadlock. Okay, so we will select the process with less utility, or which process has used their resource less amount. Okay, so fourth one is what, the resources process need to complete. So how many or how much more or how many more resources a process require, based on that also we can terminate the process. If one process is asking for more resources and another process is asking for only less amount of resources, then we will terminate the process which is asking for more amount of resources. Okay, and the fifth one is what, how many processes will need to be terminated. Okay, so this is also one important one. Suppose five processes are there, P1, P2, P3 and P4 and P5. Okay, so if we select this one, this one, this one, the process is going to the safe state. Okay, but if we select P4 and P5 only, then the process will go to the safe state. Okay, so this order we have to select, means what are the process to be terminated, so that the system will recover from the deadlock. Okay, so how many processes need to be terminated is another problem. Okay, so then this is all about what, process termination. Okay, first we need to first method is what, abort all the deadlock process, but this is very costly affair. From that we are going to select one by one until the deadlock cycle is terminated, and then these are the methods to select the process if we are terminating the partially deadlocked, not partially means, if we are not terminating all the deadlock process. Okay, then we need to select. Okay, and second method is what, resource preemption. Okay, in this method we are preempting the resources from the processes which are currently being allocated. Okay, so select a victim. Okay, to minimize the cost. Okay, we need to select a process in such a way that that means, see, suppose which resources are to be preempted, this is the problem. Okay, this question we have to address. Okay, so, and so that we can minimize the cost. Okay, the amount of time the process has consumed during its execution. Okay, suppose one process P1 already executed for suppose 90 minutes. Okay, and one P2 is there, it is just started 5 minutes. Okay, then which one is to terminate? So if we terminate P2, it will be better, right, because it is just started. Okay, so we need to select a victim properly. Okay, that is to be the resources of that process to be preempted. Okay, second one is what, rollback. As I discussed earlier, return to some safe state, restart the process for that state, because it is very difficult to roll back a process partially. Okay, so generally we roll back the process completely and restart it again. Okay, so that is also one important issue. And starvation. Okay, suppose if we are allowing resource preemption, okay, if we allow a process to preempt some resources which are currently being held by some process, suppose P2, okay, and P1 can preempt resources and P3 can preempt resources, okay. So there may be a chance that the resources which are currently being held by P2, okay, will always be preempted by some other process, okay. So suppose P1 is executing and so P2 is executing now, and P2 will come and it will preempt the resources, okay. Then again it will get back the resources. Now it's again continue the execution, but again P3 will come and it will preempt the resources. So there is a chance that, means the resources of a single process may be preempted repeatedly, okay. Then this process will be going to the starvation, means what, long waiting, okay. So this is another problem we need to take care of while while doing our resource preemption, okay. So these are the few things we have to take care of while preempting resources from the process, okay. So this is all about recovery from deadlock, and thanks for watching. This is the last video of deadlock, okay. So thank you. If you like my video, please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel.